Okay, Access Lecture A3 is going to talk about primary keys, and we're going to talk about relating two database tables to each other. Now, primary key field is a field in a table or in an Access database that contains data that uniquely identifies that record, that specific identification of that particular record, and no two records can have the same primary key. In a lot of cases, say you'd have a customer database, you would have the customer ID number would be that primary key. Or if you had an inventory that you had a database for, it would be the product number. There's a lot of different ways that you can set up your primary key, and you can actually have your database auto number your primary key if you tell it what the variable is that you want to add to it as you enter a new record. Also, the primary key field is critical in relating one table to another, where you'd have one-to-many relationships. In other words, where you'd have an entry in one table that could be potentially related to multiple entries in another table, such as you would have one salesperson in your sales staff database that could be related to many customers in the customer database. The one record in the first table is related to many records in the second table, and that primary key field is critical so that when you look at a customer in the customer database, you actually have a field for the salesperson, and that would be their primary key. So when you sort through, you want to pull up all the people with the primary key of S32, which is Sally Smith's primary key, then that would be the primary key that you'd want to look for in that table. So when you're designing a primary key field, remember we talked about earlier how properties of fields can be different. It can be short text, it can be long text, it can be numbers, it can be date, time, it can be phone number, social security number, format. You set the format for those data entries. You set the type. Customer ID number, comment ID in the string. In the top picture on page 11, the comments table tab, the comment ID primary key for comments, each comment gets a number. In the second table in the middle, when you're looking at that, the customer table tab, you're looking at the customer ID number as being their primary field symbol, or their primary key in the customers table that allows you to identify specific customer by their customer ID. Field properties vary. The properties, like I said a minute ago, and we've talked about before, the characteristics of the field. Two properties are required for every field. You need to give the field a name, which would be the title at the top. If we go back to the slide, you'll see the title at the top is a field name. And then a data type, which is, the data type is whether it's a number, it's text, short text, long text, whether it's got a specific format, date, time, etc., etc., etc. The more properties equal more restrictions and more data entry accuracy. In other words, more restrictive you are on zeroing in on what your fields hold will help ensure more data accuracy. And when data entry is taking place, if there's errors being done when the data entry phase is taking place, then it'll actually help flag errors that are taking place and help avoid table data entry errors. So two tables can be related to each other, but they have to be linked in a manner so that before the queries, forms, or reports can be created that'll utilize the fields for more than one table together. The tables are linked in a one-to-many relationship. In other words, you're going to have a table that has one entry only with that one salesperson, that one inventory item that can be linked to many people. Your salesperson is linked to many customers. Your inventory item would be linked to the full inventory in the store, or your inventory item is a category, and then under that category, like say you've got a category of the old standard widgets, and under the widgets you have 50,000 different types of widgets. So your widgets would start with W, and then you'd have the numbers after that where it would tell you what the actual widget ID is. So when you're relating two tables, you've got to be able to identify that one-to-many relationship in order to find things. So you're going to go, okay, in this table I have my salesperson, Sally Smith, and I want to go over to the customer sales table, and I want to pull all of Sally Smith's sales or customers out of that table and build a report off of that. So when your Lincoln table, it's under the Relationships tab, as it's shown in the middle of page 13. And this shows the actual one-to-many. This is the one-to-the-many relationship line between customers and comments. So in this case, you have comments made by customers. The comment ID is the primary field, but the customer comment is tied back to a customer ID. So in this case, in this field, or this two tables, under customers you have a customer ID, which is a unique primary key, and under the comment field you have the comments are ID'd. In other words, the comments have numbers, but also tied to the comment is a customer ID. So for every customer, you can pull up whatever comments they made by this customer ID field that has a primary key by comment. Hopefully that makes sense to you, so that you can understand the relation between the two tables.